today I wanted to explain how to add a item into your game. Now, this is going to be using the RCK creation kit, or I guess it's a RPG creation kit, or known as the RCK, is inside the Unity store. I'm going to be adding a onion into my game. I notice I have an onion sack, but I do not have an onion. So I'm going to be adding an onion. First, I like to get my assets from DAZ. If you're looking for a nice, realistic looking content, then I do suggest DAZ. If you're looking for low poly stuff, I don't know where you go. I never tried low poly. It's not something I'm really interested in. So I'm gonna load a onion. So I can just double click it there. I'm gonna zoom in just so I can take a good look at it. And very nice, very simple. Can't go wrong with that. And if you do not know DAZ very well, you can click on the NVIDIA iRay. Hopefully you have an NVIDIA. If not, then it's just hard to make games in general anyways. But you can kind of see what it'll look like at its best, so to say. Not that it's going to look exactly like this in your game. It's all going to depend on if you're using HDRP, URP, or built-in, and your settings and many other factors. But this is pretty much as good as it will ever look inside of any game. So that being said, we're going to go back to texture shaded, and whenever you do go back to the NVIDIA, you'll notice these two things will pop in. You can just delete them back out. Make sure you click on the onion, go to File, and this here is a add-on for DAZ, very easy to install, and it's free. What this will do, I'll show you. Click on it, and you're going to name what you want the folders, and I think you'll even name the mesh this as well. I'm just going to call it onion. And what I like to do is I put an underscore in front of it, makes it a little bit easier to find in my game. Over here you will be putting in the folder address to the assets folder in DAZ. This is a static mesh for me. You can have animations or a skeletal mesh. For me, I'm going to be using the static. And these are for your morphs. You can check that and select this as you want. And this here is for subdivision, which is how high poly you want it. You can cut it down quite a ways by using that. And the rest of this stuff's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to click on accept. From here, you can just read the options. It's usually pretty well self-explanatory. The one thing you do want to watch for is if you have multiple things in here, you're going to want to uncheck selected only. And all these things that will say no will now turn to yes. Makes it a little bit easier. And I like to merge my diffuse and opacity textures. I always click on it. Not always is it needed, but if it's not needed, it won't hurt anything. It'll actually give you both the normal diffuse with a normal opacity texture, and it will also give you a merged one in a separate folder as well, so you can kind of pick and choose if you want to actually use it or not. That's a pretty nice feature right there. From here, we're just going to hit accept. You can pause it and go over all my options. It usually takes just a few seconds at most. It doesn't hardly ever take very long. It'll tell you that it exported, and now it's inside the Unity. You just click on OK. Now, whenever you open up Unity next, you will get this screen here where everything's loading. This will pop up. Mine's a little bit different. I edited this toolbox thing here. If you would like to have my version, it's pretty darn simple. I do believe this used to say info. I changed it out to basically a little toolbox that I like. I click on find all my DTU files. A DTU file is it's what tells Unity where all the files are, all your images, and how to build your material files, and all that fun stuff. That being said, you can make a prefab with it, you can create materials, you can delete it, and this one here, store, I found the DTU files to be quite troublesome. Number one, if you have to re-import everything, for example, or if you have to rebuild your library, it doesn't know anymore that this has already been imported, and it'll try to do it again. Any edits that you have made will be deleted. So the DTU file does cause trouble if you don't delete it, but instead I made a little button where I can click on Store. What that does is it moved it outside of my assets folder, and I can still do anything I want with it. This way, if I have to rebuild my library or re-import everything, that DTL will not be really used or anything. Kind of hard to explain. That being said, now we're going to go to the folder, which is going to be in my DAZ folder, and should say _onion. There it is. That being said, I'm going to go down to the prefab, and I'm just going to drag and drop it wherever. I'm going to put it over here near the light so we can look at it nice and easy. That is a pretty small onion, actually. That's a very small onion. I don't think that's the right size. I'm going to make that bigger. Go down to the inspector, and there we go. That definitely has a really bad material file to it. I'm going to fix that material while I'm at it. I think it's going to be in here. There we are. Now, this is the bad part, is that I downloaded a unofficial version as well. It's on a GitHub. It's free. What it does is they kind of have their own material files. It's really experimental. Some of it works, some of it don't. You can take and it's kind of pick and choose. You really, I don't know. Some of it's really good, some of it's not so much. The Uber spec is one of them that is not good. That being said, I can just go to my DAZ and then go to, oh well, I guess that is actually the one I use. Let's see. Oh, nope, this one here is the iRay ones cause a little bit of trouble. The iRay Uber Skin is okay, and the Uber Metal is okay. I made this one myself so I can have overlays for dirt, makeup, blood. It's kind of what I'm just experimenting with. I got it working pretty good. But anyways, URP specular. There you go. It's fixed. It looks amazing. Let's actually look at it. Can't deny that looks pretty darn nice. Okay. Now we're just kind of looking it over. Sure, looks good. I'll fine tune anything later. Now, normally I also like to make LODs. It's a level of detail if you don't know what LOD is. Basically, the further away you get, it'll swap out the models with a less detailed version. I normally do that, and I'll do that after this video. I have plenty of videos on LOD and all that fun stuff. I have quite a few of them, actually. So we're going to skip that part, and all I'm going to worry about now is making this actually usable in game. Now we're going to add a item file from the RPG creation kit. This is a consumable item. Most of these are pretty close to the same, they're usually just slightly different. That being said, this is what the consumable item one looks like. We're going to name it, I start off with naming it consumable in front of it. So did I spell that right? C-O-N-S-U-M-A-B-L-E. Yep, okay. I'm not the greatest with spelling. I put the consumable in front of it because a lot of times I'm trying to find it by clicking on one of these, for example, and it could be about any of them because sometimes I have a consumable model with the same name. Of course, and the word onion is not going to be used very often, so it probably won't be an issue in this one. But to keep everything organized when you're doing your items, it's best to label it this way first. So we're going to say consumable onion. Can't go wrong with that name. Nice and easy. Now, this is for your sounds, audio clips. You can just drag and drop them on there, or you can click over here and select one that'll match what you're looking for. I won't be going over that. We're going to add a ID, so we're going to say 00 item onion. I always put a 00 in front of it to let myself know that this is the ID that I'm using. And then I try to break things into categories just in case if I use the same name twice on something. That way it'll kind of hopefully break me using the same name twice on accident. And then, of course, I name it what it is, onion. So I have 00 item onion. The icon is the item, for example, is a little bit different. I have a little system I like to use on that. We're going to go back to that here in a minute. Item name, I'm just going to put onion. And ItemInWorld is what we're getting ready to make, so I'm going to leave that one as well for now. Weight, I don't think they weigh about 1/4 pound. That may be way wrong. I don't know. I'll find an onion, figure that out later. An onion, what's it worth? Now this one here, I do suggest before you add any items in your game, you will want to start off with getting a Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets and just make a base template. That way, you know, you're not selling a wooden spoon for $1 and, you know, a gold spoon for 3 pennies. You know, have things just way out of balance. You'll want a Google Sheet to run off of. So for me, this is just 1 is what the value is to me. And this is rarely ever going to be used on Quest. That's going to be tied onto your Quest system, which will not be covered in this. And is consumable, or is cumulable. That is a complicated word to figure out. It took me a little while. What that means is, can you have more than one in your inventory? Check it yes. Now you can have as many onions in your inventory as you want. Use tooltip makes use of this. I don't really use it unless the item has magic on it, or basically if it's going to be a quest item, something more unique. If you want to use it, you just check the box and put in, I am a tool tip. And, I didn't put that right. There we go. I'm a tool tip. You can put whatever you want in there to help describe the uniqueness of the item or just about the item, whatever you want. I am not going to be using it though. And then if you have a script that you want to attach to this onion, you basically just have to type in the script name right here. And you can put in effects just by dragging and dropping them into here if you have any effects. I already mentioned the audio to it. Play a sound. It's going to be weird if you don't play a sound, to be honest. And then is consumable. I don't know really why that's there, considering that it is consumable, but I just kind of leave that one alone. There may be a further reason to that one. Now we're going to go over making the icon, which is a little bit different than what I remember. That's just because I don't remember things very well. So a good way to do this is going to be clicking on the actual onion, which might be better to click on the prefab, and click on this, and then there's your onion. Find you a spot that'll look most like an onion to a viewer, something like that, for example. Then I use Windows Screenshot, just like that. And I will open up GIMP, which I already have open. I never did clear this out from a previous thing I did. Actually, that was my very last video I did. I still haven't closed that out yet. That's pretty sad. And I'm going to type in, I know I made some for pants. It's better to kind of get a template made and then just keep going back to that template. We're going to open this up with GIMP. There we are. Now this is the one that I do use for images, because this is what's going to be shown inside your inventory. We're going to start off with just deleting that, and it just deletes the image out of it, and we're going to hit Control V for paste. Now I'm going to scale this down a little bit by right-clicking, go down to Layer and Scale. I like to do percents. Makes it a little bit easier for me, and I just make sure that link is connected like that. And I think if I cut it down to about 80%, we're going to be good. There we go. And there we go. You want to take up as much screen space as possible, because anything wasted space is wasted rendering. We all know this. That being said, I'm going to click off here into space, and there's my onion. But I like to have a clear background. It kind of helps with the contrasting of it. So I'm going to be clicking on this booger here, which is a select by color tool. And I just put the radius down, threshold all the way down. I just click into the gray, and I just hit delete. Now you have a transparent background. With that being said, to make things easier to see, I actually desaturate it all the way down. Just like so. Just the default settings is what I use. And then to make it a little bit clearer of an image, because these icons are pretty small in game. You want to remember that. We want to go, what I do is brightness and contrast. And I raise this up to about 71, 76, whatever, around that area. It's, you don't got to be spot on anywhere. And as you can see, you can kind of, just by adding a little bit more contrast, you can make this a whole lot more visible and easier to see for people. About right there ought to be just fine. Now you can see you can really see the detail a lot better. Now it's a little bit higher contrast, and it's black and white. Black and white, naturally to the human eye, is a clear image. Then go to image, and we want to merge visible layers. What that does is it makes this green basically go to the correct outline where it needs to be. There you go. Now we have our image, and now we're going to export it. But we need to put it where it needs to be, just beside the onion. And I'm just going to just name it onion. And export. Now we're going to go in game. Nice. Type in onion. Move this back out of the way. Just click on any of them to get where we need to be. And here's the onion. I take this, I go down to, I believe it's this one. And you hit OK or apply. There, now we have our transparent background, and we can just drag and drop. That's the icon that we will be using. I do not have a model yet. So now we're going to just select on OK, now that we have this part here mostly made. Now we need to make this an in-game item. How we're going to do that is go to the RPG Creation Kit, create new, ItemInWorld. That being said, we can click on our onion, drop it there, and type in what we want to name it. I like to use I use Mesh Collider Convex. It's really lightweight, it's optimized, and it's, in my opinion, the best for collision if you're going to be having physics on it also, because this will have physics. You'll be able to pick it up and drop it on the ground, it'll roll around. Pretty neat deal. Which actually, since this is really round on this one, it might be better to use a sphere collider. And then for the trigger, I actually think a sphere might actually be perfect as well. Normally I use like a box trigger and the convex, but I'm not normally dealing with something that's almost perfectly round. I'm getting a lot of emails, even though my email's turned off. It's awesome. So now the item ref is what we need to be putting in here, which we have already made. To me, it's just a little bit easier if I go ahead and start it and then come back to it, drop it in there, do as I need to do. And I made my own, is owned by NPC area. Now in the more recent ones, the author has made his own version to it, so I actually need to update mine. I'm probably just going to use his instead of mine. Just that way it'll be easier in life for me later on. And then I just leave it, I don't make a prefab in here, I do it on my own, so that way I can put it where I want it. I haven't really messed with this part yet, but you should be able to just type in where you want it, but it just seems easier doing it my own way. But I'm going to hit complete and close because I have no more other ones to build right now. And it says success. Now you'll see your onion is here. This is the rigid body. This is what makes it fall to the ground. I am going to remove that instance. And it doesn't have any animation, so I'm going to remove that too. This is the sphere collider and another sphere collider. Ooh, that's going to be kind of tricky. This one here is the trigger. Okay, so this one here, you want it to be a little bit bigger. And I don't know how big that is. I guess I'm just going to try to see if I can make that zoom. Oh, wow, that's huge. I see it now. Okay. We don't want it too big. Because what if you're trying to pick up that bone and then the collider's completely over the bone? You won't be able to grab it. So we want to get it just a little bit bigger. About right there. Then this one here, this is the actual collider. Okay. It's way too big. I can tell you that already. We're probably going to want to zoom. Yeah, okay, that's not exact. Normally it's not. I don't know why it's doing this. This is the actual shape. This way. The heck? Goofy thing. And we want to use a sphere collider. There it is. You see, normally when you do that, it gets pretty darn close. See, it just fills all that out for you. We want it a little bit better than that, though. So we're going to manually edit these numbers to get it as close as we can to be correct. I'll be happy with that. Then you just right-click on it and hit Copy Component. And now we're just going to delete it back out and go back to the parent. And that was for the collider, which is this one. You can just right-click, and we're going to paste component values. There we go. Pretty cool, right? And we're going to need to raise this one up a little bit as well. And this is still a little bit off. There we go. I think that's about right. There. Now the outside one is the trigger. That way, whenever you are looking right at it, it'll tell you that you can pick it up as long as you are within this trigger area. And then the collider's obviously just as it is. It's a collider. Let me see if there's anything else that needs to be done in here. Okay. And basically, for a lot of this stuff, I do believe it is inside the text tutorial online, which you can find by going to the RPG Creation Kit and going to and list for everything is inside of here. ItemInWorld is what you'll need to go to, and you can find everything there, or the item script or items. But from here, the only thing left is the GUID string. What I like to do is go ahead and save this over my prefab. That way all that work I did is now saved. And now this one here is going to be unique compared to the one inside that's my prefab. That being said, I'll need to make a GUID string for it since it's inside of a cell and being used in game. You can just regenerate it. Bam. Very nice and easy. Can't complain about that. Metadata. I'm not sure how he has his set up, but the way mine is set up is the cell itself, which is inside of cell info. I can pick the cell owner, which is going to be her. She's going to be the shop owner. And I'll be able to just drag her over here. In fact, that should have already been done. There you go. Now she owns everything inside of this cell unless this here, where is it? Unless this here is filled out. So if you put it's owned by an NPC and then put who it is, then that person will still own this one. But if this is not filled out, then whoever owns this cell is going to be owning this item. I thought that was a pretty handy deal to do. Hopefully his is set in the same way, because I'm going to try to use his. I may just have to edit it if that's not there. So now we have our onion and the item in game. So we're going to open this back up. Go to Configure Item. Now we need to change out this model, which is the prefab. Well, here we are. I think I can do it like this. What is it we're looking for? It says none, game object. That's quite confusing. Oh, that was a material file. That's why. There we go. Now see, I could have screenshot this as well. I didn't think about I wasn't sure if this is going to be here or not, honestly. But now it knows its model to use on use effects. That's the effects thing that was on the other screen that we seen earlier. All this stuff here we've already seen and talked about. It was just onto the side version, which was all over here. This is like a nice little editor pack is what this is, and it's pretty dang handy, honestly. You can configure your sounds in here, which is also right here. And when you're done, you said OK. OK. And now, see, this isn't done yet. Okay, now that this is inside your cell and you want to use it, you'll need to go down to your cell info and you have to update your cell. Okay? If you don't update your cell, then this won't work. It really gets all screwy. It messes with a lot of the internal stuff. We save the cell, we update the cell. Now it's going to be inside there, inside the system. With that being done, you go to the RPG Creation Kit, update all databases, and you have successfully brought an onion into your game. And from now on, anytime that you want to use it, all you have to do is go down to your prefab that you made right here, and you can just keep on dropping as many as you want in your game, wherever you want, however you want, it doesn't matter. And let's say you have a whole bunch of them and you did just exactly what I did, and say there's too many of them, you can't even, you don't have a good grip on it. Another thing you can do is just go down to your cell info, and as long as none of these have any scripts on them, you can just click on Regenerate All GUID. And I'm going to click on it and show you. Okay, now all of these are going to already have different GUID strings. Every one of them will be unique. That's also a really nice feature added by him. So there you go. Now you've successfully added onions into your game. You can do this with any item that is consumable that you want to put in game. You could put socks to eat if you have some kind of a goofy monster. Hope you enjoy this. Let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions or ideas that you'd like to add onto here, any questions, please let me know down in the comments. I do keep an eye on them, and I will try to do my best to get back to you.